I say this to young people and they're like, oh, that's a cool saying. But we grew up with it, which is politics ends at the water's edge. I love that. Which was like,
that, unfortunately, I have a thesis that when the Berlin Wall fell, so did that. And I don't think we felt.
Why did we go all the way back? I thought it was.
Well, because of I think when you look at it, if you sort of take a step back of where we are, the only time the only time that was actually relevant was during the Cold War, when both parties kept their fringes at bay, and everybody had their eye on the Soviet ball. And you had this sort of, it didn't matter who was president. Everybody was going to make sure, was concerned about nuclear war and was concerned about the Soviets.
Well, I wanted that.
I do too. And we had it briefly at 9/11, but it went away pretty fast. And it's one of those, I have a unfortunate, I look at it, and if you look at the totality of our 249 years, the Cold War era might be the outlier, where we were more bipartisan, where we were a bit less sort of caustic at each other. All of our presidential elections were blowouts, by the way. We never had during the Cold War, 68 and 76 were it. You look at this century, every single presidential election has been decided by 6 points or less.
Yeah. I mean, I think you're touching, I mean, that's interesting. I mean, I wonder whether or not, and I was just in Asia last week, Japan and Tokyo, and it's impossible not to spend most of the time talking about or thinking about the China threat and how real it is, how close we are.
What is it? I was on a show today that said, how close are we to World War III? And I was like, oh my God, please get off the internet. But how would you have answered the question?
I mean, if we don't get our act together, we're very close and we're a couple years away. I mean,
it's my concern,
because at the moment, China has said within the next couple of years, they are going to resolve the Taiwan issue in their minds, which is going to be potentially boots on the ground for them. They're going to invade. And the Taiwan Straits is a huge, a trading artery. And, if China controls that and decides, if they move on Taiwan, the United States has to decide, the world has to decide whether or not they're going to allow it. I think the answer is you can't, at which point we are at war. I don't know what that war looks like, but the best way to deter or to avoid that is by being very, very serious about our capabilities in the region, and by proving to Xi that the cost of doing that, the cost of messing with Taiwan, which would potentially, start a global war, is too high. And that now means you have to push Putin back, because if he sees Putin advancing without, any real pushback from the United States, for example, he just messed around in Poland. And our president seemed uninterested. That
was a little that in fact he didn't said anything on that is disconcerting. I mean, Poland invoked Article 4, right?
It's kind of the incentive to say, okay, if the cost was up here, if Putin got away with that, cost comes down, and the further the cost goes down for China, the more likely it is that you don't.
Well, I mean, look, this is how one person put it to me. This is somebody on the right who wants to defend Taiwan, but said, how do you make the case to somebody in Cincinnati, Ohio, that their son or daughter ought to fight on behalf of this small island against China?
Yeah, I mean, it's global trade. It's also just the global order, and us being next, or our allies being next. It's the same situation in Ukraine. I don't think that the next big global war necessarily means that we have troops invading other countries. I mean, I think
we're learning the drone. I mean, what we're learning coming out of, I just had a tremendous interview with Dexter Filkins, who did this deep dive about the future of warfare and everything that's been learned from the Ukrainians here. I mean, the drone wars are here.
Drone wars are here, and you have to have people in strategic places all over the world, and we do. Do we have enough? Probably not. Certainly
Should we have
not.
an Asian NATO?
So, I asked that question. I was over there, and the answer is no. We're good. The multilateral agreements are fine. Everyone's working together. That's what you need. But it gets complicated, because not all of those countries. It's not the same as Europe. There's
Right.
not a shared currency. There's not a shared economy.
But there is a shared concern about China.
There's a
I
shared
mean, I
concern.
do,
They're
between
all in.
Japan, Korea, South Korea, Australia, right? I mean, now
They're
I know
all
the
in.
South, I mean, they're all nervous about China.
Everyone, the Philippines, everyone has banded together, but they like to. There's beef,
Right.
that does,
Oh, the
and
South Koreans and the Japanese are still beefing. Right.
they are. It is not going to go away. But that does not mean that. And quite frankly, this is where American leadership is so important,
Mm-hmm.
because we're there and we're helping to sort of organize all of that. They are in a position to defend themselves and to maintain a rule-based system around, in the Indo-Pacific, which has huge ramifications for our economy and our national
Right.
security. But it does, right now, what you need is a president of the United States and a Defense Department secretary, somebody who's serious. And this is frustrating that you have somebody like Hegseth leading such a hugely important organization, increasing the cost to China to mess around with Taiwan. And
Yeah.
at the moment, you saw China hanging out with, Russia. That is them saying, no, no, we see you,
Yeah.
Trump. You're sort of letting Putin do
Mm.
what he wants. Is that going to be the same for us? And the answer is absolutely not. And he has to prove that by pushing Putin back.
One of the dots I connect where I get concerned about global conflict in the moment we're in is that the last time we were this protectionists in our country was the 1920s and 1930s. And we're a far larger economy now. Our decisions are affecting the livelihoods of people all over the world. And when we behave with, hey, it's us first, everybody else is going to say, okay, then we're not in this together. And everything is a zero-sum game. I mean, I worry that this increases the likelihood of war,
100%.
all these tariffs. Yeah.
It diminishes the connectivity, the connectiveness. Now, look, obviously, there is a role for tariffs to play. I'm a big believer in strategic tariffs, where you're using it for a purposeful end. I
had somebody describe it to me that the way tariffs should be used is it's like the way police use force. It's there. They can use it if they need to. We hope we don't, but when we have to, we'll use it. But it is not a strategy to grow the economy. Just like using force all the time is not a strategy to protect people.
Yeah, I mean, look, we're still very popular around the world based on the Pew like data, right? Which is good.
Yeah, be careful of going to South Seoul these days. I don't know if we're very popular in Seoul.
But with the leaders, they're frustrated. But and obviously the raid on the plant didn't help with the numbers. But we're still much more popular than anyone else. I mean, people still like the United States. They don't like.
Well, we're the cleanest pair of underwear in the hamper, but it's still dirty.
Yeah, I mean, we need somebody who this country desperately needs somebody globally who can bring people together to reestablish the kind of global order that has led to unprecedented peace and unprecedented prosperity, and somebody who will bring us together, unify us as a country, which we desperately need to fix the things that are broken. And at the heart of what's broken is the swamp, right? Is this rigged system, whether it's political, economic, it's just the super powerful and the super plugged in have gotten so much at the expense of everybody else, and somebody or a group of us will have to upend that whole thing.